Welcome once again to the Tobago House of Assembly Division of Education, Innovation and Energy's e-learning program. My name is Kimmery Richardson Thomas and I am your CSEC English A facilitator. Today we are going to look at another element of our expository writing, specifically looking at the article, and today's lesson was prepared by Cherise Taylor of Roxborough Secondary School, Tobago. At the end of this session, students should be able to define the term article, explain the purposes of the article, list and briefly explain the different types of articles, outline and explain the structure of an article, and create an article based on a specific stimulus. What exactly is an article? Simply put, an article is a written composition in prose, usually nonfiction, on a specific topic, forming an independent part of a book or other publication as a newspaper or magazine. It is usually a written composition. It's written in prose, and when we talk about prose here, when we speak about prose, let me go back here a bit. We want to be clear on what prose is. When we talk about prose writing, our prose writing here, prose means that it's not in the form of a poem and it's not in the form of a play. We're not using dramatic elements. We're not writing it with stanzas, but it's any other type of writing that's not a poem, it's not a play. And again, the article is usually non-fiction. So we want something that is factual, it's based on a specific topic, and it forms an independent part of a book or other publication. The purposes of the article. Articles are written for these purposes. They can be written to entertain so that the reader can enjoy reading. It can be written to persuade, to change the reader's opinion. It can be written to advise so that it can help people to decide what to do. It can be written to analyze, so you break down something or you break down the information to help people understand it better. And it could also be written to argue. We are looking specifically at expository articles. Expository articles would traditionally be written for informative purposes. So these types of articles are written to describe so that it's able to give details about a person, place, event, or thing. It's written to explain and make things clearer about why or how it works. It's written to inform, to tell a reader about something, or to instruct, to tell a reader how to do something. And when we're talking about our expository writing, these are some of the main purposes of that type of writing. And if we see it in an article, it's for these purposes. Types of articles that we can explore will include the academic article. Academic articles are scholarly works that are generally lengthy and involve research and analyzation and exploration of data. So the academic article, when we talk here about scholarly works, this is usually the kind of article that would be done by researchers at tertiary institutions when they're working on their thesis, they're working on a dissertation. So it's scholarly and it's generally lengthy. This is not a one page, it's not your 500 words. They usually tend to go into the thousands in terms of their word length. So it's research, analyzation, and exploration of data. The format of such articles are usually the abstracts, literature review, hypothesis, methods, results, conclusion, and bibliography. For students at the CAPE level, they should be familiar with writing that would mirror some elements of this, because you have to always ensure that when you're writing for scholarly purposes, that you include what it is you're going to write about, what are the methods, what your results are, your conclusion, and your bibliography. As one lecturer told me, you're not qualified yet to state your own opinion. So once you're doing this kind of research, you have to use other people's opinions, people who are qualified in the field, hence the need for the bibliography. We have special interest articles, popular and entertainment articles. And these are usually found especially in magazines and entertainment sections of the newspapers. These are written for entertainment or special interest purposes. They're exciting to write and even more stimulating for the reader. And again, we get a lot of our publications now online, but I remember being able to take up a magazine and you can go to a particular section to get an article on probably a movie star, a singer. You want to get information on a particular movie or something that you're interested in. And that special interest or popular entertainment article would provide me with that kind of information. We get that information on a lot of the popular websites, but you really prefer to get it from credible sources. And I made the point about credible sources because, as we know, not everything online is true. We also have newspaper articles. The newspaper article should be factual and concise. I stress here, should be factual and concise. It should be factual and concise use of language appropriate for the average reader. Now, we say that it should be factual. When investigative reporters document something within the newspaper article, we hope, we anticipate, we assume that they've done due diligence and they would have done their research so that the information presented is factual. However, sometimes errors are made. What happens, or what ought to happen, is that if there is an inaccurate report, most times newspapers will include at a later date a retraction or an apology indicating that they made an error. And again, this is because they know they aim to present factual information. So in cases where they realize that the information is inaccurate, then they're going to provide a retraction or an apology with an inclusion of what should have been the correct information. This type of writing is basic in format and style, but requires conscientiousness on the part of the writer in aiming to provide unbiased and factual information. This is really, really important because we rely on those who provide us with news to ensure that they are unbiased and factual in what they're telling us. We're not looking at our news to be persuaded, because again, expository writing is not about persuasion. It is about presenting the facts, presenting the basic information that leaves us to be able to draw our own conclusions and make our own determination. So some important techniques when formulating a newspaper article. You want to be able to obtain verifiable information. The newspaper article should have information that you can double check, information that you can verify for yourself, information that you can go out there and go through and look at other sources to determine, is this correct? Is this accurate? Before reporting on an issue, you need to conduct the appropriate amount of research required to investigate the story's details. This may include fact-finding. It may include interviews and observing events or happenings connected to the topic. You want to also grab the reader's attention when you're formulating a newspaper article. Newspaper articles should have headings that would really capture the attention of the reader. The objective of newspaper writing is to inform the reader. Again, stressing because it's expository, to inform the reader of an incident or event. A great part of that is first captivating them by relaying the most relevant, interesting fact of the story. You want to first captivate them by relaying the most relevant, interesting fact of the story. Get to the point, but make it captivating. You want to insert quotations when you're doing this type of article. A great story usually always includes quotations. Readers like to see the take of a professional, eyewitness, or other reputable individual regarding the story or topic that's being conveyed. Hence why I stated before that at this stage in your academic journey, you're not yet qualified to state your own opinion. You can give your opinion. What it means, simply put, is that you've not done sufficient research and you've not become a professional in the area to make your opinion reputable. So then you look for information. Even though you may have a point of view, you state your point of view, but then you do some research to be able to get information from a professional, from an eyewitness, or any other reputable individual regarding the topic that you're exploring. I'm going to ask you to also aim to become one of those persons. In your academic journey, aspire to do research. Aspire to do research particularly on your country, on Trinidad and Tobago. We need more researchers in that area so that you can produce articles that can help formulate policy and decisions. So the structure of an article. Similar to an essay, an article must consist of the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Simply put, these are elements of essay writing that you're quite familiar with. So this is a recap. The article must have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And I'm stressing here, when you look at the body, try to include here at least 3 elements. And when I say 3 elements, I'm referring to paragraphs. You want to be able to have what I call a healthy body in your essay writing. So that once you have your introduction and your clearly stated introduction, you want to have at least 3 or even 4, depending on the time limit that you have or the nature of your research. But you don't want to have anything less than 3, because then you can end up with a weak paper. So let's try to get at least 3 different elements, 3 different paragraphs within the body, and then your conclusion. So we look at the structure. Rule number 1, minimize your barrier to entry. You want to make it easy for your reader to be drawn in. Don't go on and on with irrelevant information. A large opening paragraph at the start of an article is a huge barrier to entry. Keep your opening short and punchy. And when we say punchy here, talking about let it have a hook. Create a hook to capture the reader's attention. Rule number 2, keep your paragraphs short and your text visually appealing. You want to ensure, especially if you're writing, that it's legible. So it has to be visually appealing. The structure and layout is also going to create that type of appeal when you're writing. So we want to make sure that you're maintaining these rules. Rule number 4, I think I missed a rule. You want to ensure that the content has substance. Write the content for the sake of conveying meaning and understanding. So let your content have substance. This is where the research would come in. You want to put in additional information from reputable sources that would add to the legitimacy of what you're saying. And then our next rule, tell a story. Again, depending on the kind of article that you're writing. People love stories. It's one of the basic truths of humanity. We always respond to a compelling story, so that there are parts within your article that you can have an anecdote, do a type of analogy. You want to be able to make it very interesting for the reader while you're bringing across your information. And this rule says, rule number 6, show, then tell. Start by showing me your point in action, then explain to me what it means and why it matters. You're going to show and then tell. This is a rule for your overall structure. Present your ideas in the following order. You want illustration, explanation, understanding. This is what show then tell refers to. Illustrate the point, explain the point, and then clarify by giving the reader that level of understanding. So let's take a look at an example of an article. As a person who wants to use social media as a way to advertise or promote a business or yourself, you should be aware of the tools you have online to make your social media campaigns go smoothly. First, I should mention Buffer, a tool that allows you to post on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms in advance. It is also an analytical program that allows you to see what activity you got on certain posts and what time is the best to post. It also has a browser extension for easy posting. It has become a respected name in social media management. If you want to find business leads through social media, the application Octopost focuses on just that. You can also manage your social media accounts through it. It is the most comprehensive business-to-business social media management system. If you are a Twitter fanatic, Tweepy is a great addition to your arsenal, as it targets users on Twitter that correspond to your Twitter account. For Twitter, finding users you should interact with on a daily basis is of utmost importance. Finding these users on one's own is quite difficult, and this tool allows you to locate them easily. By the same token, Gritix scopes out targeted Facebook users that are interacting the most with your Facebook pages. Not only that, but this application allows to complete content analytics to your pages. You can see post statistics and trending topics within your Facebook. Ever wanted a caller ID for email, so to speak? Then Senders is your tool to use. It gives you a load of information on the people that are emailing you, including their social media following. These are just some of the tools you can use as a social media expert. Use them well to conquer the social media world. That was an example of an article. It provided information about different social media tools that you can use. And it was just really about giving you content about the different applications available to you. Again, it did not attempt to convince you about which application was the best. It presented you with various options, told you what they entailed. The rest is up to you. And that is what an article does. So let's take a look at a stimulus. Study the situation below and then answer the questions that follow. You can be presented with a stimulus like this to write an article on. We're not going to write the actual article in this session, but I want you to see what a possible stimulus for an article will involve. I'm going to ask you to take out your smartphones again, take a picture, save it, look at the various elements, and we're going to see what is being asked of you as a student. Last week you participated in a 2-day workshop/seminar which focused on the theme Youth in Crisis. The seminar was organized by an internationally recognized non-governmental organization, Caring for Others. The primary focus of the seminar was on eliminating underachievement among young people. The seminar featured several presenters who offered strategies and recommendations to foster and encourage youth participation in community and nation building. The presenters highlighted the lack of strong family structures as well as unhealthy social relationships as a major factor contributing to juvenile delinquency. One speaker, Ms. Jane Mayers, indicated that statistics have proven that motivation and guidance are absent in formal and informal settings where young people socialize. Hence, they are not enthusiastic or goal-oriented. The proceedings of the seminar will be published in a brochure to be handed out to students in secondary school. A significant recommendation coming out of the seminar is that leaders should begin to involve young people in the critical development areas such as decision and policy making. Another speaker, Dr. Frank Dopwell, lamented the erosion of morals and values as evidenced on digital media platforms. You have been selected to write an article for your local newspaper on the seminar. Write your article using no more than 150 words. Your answer will be assessed on how well you have formatted your article, selected relevant and complete information, organized and expressed the information in your article, used appropriate grammar, sentence structure, vocabulary, spelling, and punctuation. Your article must be in continuous prose, and again, because this is going to be in section 2 of paper 2, you will be awarded a maximum of 30 marks for this. You find here, especially in this prompt, you would have been given the detail, and this is what I'd ask you to take a picture of. You were given the detail about what took place, the particular setting, the context, the background. And then you are being asked, it says you have been selected to write an article, and this is write an article for your local newspaper. And we looked at what newspaper articles should contain. And again, we're looking at factual information. You're writing it based on the seminar, so you're writing as an eyewitness. But all of the information has been presented to you, and your article must be no more than 150 words, which means you do not cross the word limit. It can be a little bit below, not too far below, but don't exceed. And again, because it's formal writing, we are looking at the format of the article. We're looking at how well you've selected relevant and complete information. There must be logical organization. Logical, we have to see that structure again, a clear introduction, the body, clear conclusion. You want to use appropriate grammar, sentence structure, vocabulary, spelling, and punctuation. And it must be in continuous prose. When you're writing, we're not expecting to see bullet points. You're not writing this with bullet points. It has to be in continuous prose. Let's take a look at a multiple choice application using an article. So this article is based on the topic ants. As diverse as they are numerous, and again I'm asking you, take out your cell phones, take a picture. We're going to look at different slides that will contain the information for the multiple choice. But when we get into the multiple choice, we would not be going back to the article. So I want you to take some pictures, look at it as we go through. I'm going to read it through now, and then we'll look at our questions. Okay? So get those phones out. Ants. As diverse as they are numerous, the world's 15,000 or more ant species employ a variety of strategies to search out and appropriate their food. Unlike the marauder ants, the workers of many species are solitary hunters. The Asian jumping ant, known for its ability to make great startling leaps, may travel as far as 100 feet from its nest, a long journey for an ant, but finding prey makes it worthwhile. Species like the jumping ant depend entirely on foods that an individual can handle. Yet many solitary foraging ants also recruit assistance for rich and intractable finds. One method is to lay down chemical trails for nest mates to follow. Like the marauder ants, the army ants, which are only distantly related, employ a raiding strategy, hunting together in massive groups. Unlike the marauders, which often advance in swarm raids, many army ant species hunt only in narrow columns. This group of worker ants, with mandibles projecting menacingly, displays the typically aggressive behavior of an army on the march. So, let's take a look at the questions that we can have based on this article. Our first question says, according to the expository article, most species of ants, like marauders, hunt for food together, employ similar strategies to find food, hunt by themselves, closely resemble each other. When you go back and you look at the article and you're going to go through those the various paragraphs and the various slides that we looked at, when you read through, according to the expository article, most species of the ant. So we're going to look at it. I want you to look at it. Is it that most species of ants are like marauders and hunt for food together? Is that contained in the article? Did the article say that they employ similar strategies to find food? Did it say that they hunt by themselves? Did it say that they closely resemble each other? And a careful analysis of the information tells us that our answer is C. Most species of ants hunt by themselves. If we take a look at a second question, under what conditions do solitary foraging ants seek assistance? Is it when food is scarce? B, when the prey is valuable and hard to control? C, when the prey is stronger than the individual ant? Or D, when the ant cannot eat the prey by itself? Again, go back and look at your article. Which one is our answer? A, B, C, or D? I'm giving you a few seconds to quickly peruse the article. And when we look at it, it says, under what conditions do solitary foraging ants seek assistance? And our answer here is B. If you said B, then you are correct. When the prey is valuable and hard to control. Another question that we can look at, we just have a few that we look at today. How do ants solicit the help of others? By cutting tracks for them to follow, by signaling to them, by waiting for them to follow, or by leaving chemical trails. What I want to also do, I'm going to put the other question here so that you can look at both of them simultaneously. And I want you to determine what our answer is going to be. The other question says, what similarity is there between army ants and marauder ants? If we look at question 3, how do ants solicit the help of others? And when we go back to the article, we're going to find that there it tells us that they leave a chemical trail. Our answer is D. What similarity is there between army ants and marauder ants? And again, looking at our article, there was that section that spoke about the similarity between the army ants and the marauder ants. Are they of the same species? Do they hunt together in groups? Do they carry out raids on their prey? Or do they hunt in narrow columns? And again, perusing our article, we're able to conclude here our answer is that they carry out raids on their prey. Our answer is C for number 4. If we look at our final 2 questions, now this is a particular format that I really want to draw your attention to. This format for multiple choice questioning that will give you options, and then you have to determine which combination of our options would be your answer. According to the expository article, which of the following are characteristics of army ants? So they've given you 4 different characteristics here. They are aggressive, and these are characteristics, and they're looking at army ants. So you're not going to get confused and identify characteristics of any other ants presented in the article. Ensure that you're pulling out the information specific for army ants. They are aggressive, they hunt in groups, they travel far from their nest, they advance in swarm raids. So then this requires you to go back again to your text in the article and identify what are those characteristics of the army ants. And when we go through it, we are able to eliminate, we can eliminate, because we're not getting, it's not that they travel, so we can eliminate that they travel far from their nest, and we can eliminate army ants advancing in swarm raids. What we can determine is that army ants are aggressive and they hunt in groups. So that will be 1 and 2. When we look at our extract from the article, army ants are aggressive, they hunt in groups. Then we come down to our options and find which option, A, B, C, or D, gives us our 1 and 2. And there we see that our answer is C. In our final question, which of the following is not true about ants? There are more than 15,000 species. The various species employ different strategies for seeking out food. All the species are closely related, and certain species can jump. Which of the following is not true about our ants? So here we go. When we go back again to our passage, to our article, we can pull out what it is we are able to see. The article clearly says that there are more than 15,000 species. It says so at the very beginning in our first paragraph. The various species employ different strategies for seeking out food. This is also true. All the species are closely related. If we go back to the article, we would have found some bit of information that spoke about some of them being closely related, not necessarily all. So pay attention to this word. Then we are told that certain species can jump. If we look in the article, we are able to see that this is indeed true. So that we are able, through process of elimination, to determine that this C is our answer because it is not true about the ants. As we conclude, you have now been able to define the term article, explain the purposes of the article, list and briefly explain the different types of articles, outline and explain the structure of an article, and create an article based on a stimulus. I want to say thank you once again as we come to the end of another CSEC English A session for the Tobago House of Assembly Division of Education, Innovation and Energy e-learning program. We hope to see you again another time.